Okay, we're going to go for take two. Hi. Most confusing. So my name is Helena.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are Speaker Insight, where we help speakers, authors and coaches to build a portfolio business on your terms. And we're going for take two in terms of this. So please, for those of you who are beginning to watch, let us know that this is working for you. And indeed...
just make sure, it looks fine.
It looks fine.
The pixelation's gone. Let us know if the sound's high enough. I know that some of you are just joining us. So yeah, please do. We won't start from the beginning. But
we really won't. But tell us the buzz in your business nonetheless.
Yes.
And whilst, so I'm going to share this out whilst I can to
the
groups that we're actually in. But I'm also going to say, sort of really, we are talking about, do you make your product first or do you market it first? And we're doing that for the core reason that actually most creative people kind of get impulsive and they just go ahead and make it. Or indeed, as one of you just said, you wouldn't dare actually not make it before you marketed
that's what Nicole, I hope you've come back, Nicole, and you're joining us on this stream. And hey, Sarah.
For sure.
She says few. Yes, we're saying few too.
We are saying few, indeed.
It's the first time that we're back together after 3 months being in the same room together. And hey, this is when we have the tech nightmare rather than when we're apart. So that's saying a lot. So
that's how it is. So
while we're sharing it out, I've put the link into the comments. If you haven't joined us in the Connection Hub, you're not one of our 7,400 odd members. Come and join us over there where the conversations happen. This is where the training happens.
Yay.
And Helena's just sharing this out at the moment.
I'm done.
And while we're doing this, we still want to catch up what we just left on the other thing, is actually telling us what's going on in your business, and we'll tell you what's going on in ours, which is, one, what we just said. Thank God kids go back to school, hopefully, this week, if it all goes to plan. Because we might get a little bit of normality back in our lives, a little bit more space, and not having to multitask.
With huge respect to the teachers and all of that as well.
Nobody ever disrespects
they may be
teachers
dreading
ever
this
again.
actually.
And also it's the beginning of a new quarter, right? So we're in September. For the change makers that are watching in our membership, then make sure that you're getting your changemaker trackers ready, because we'll be making sure you're on track for your quarterly goals.
For sure.
And even if you're not a member, make sure you've got those plans and those goals in sight so that you can make the last part of this year work for you in this new world that we're living in, right?
Sure.
So
thank you, Julie, for confirmation that the quality is so much better and that works beautifully. So let's have another go then. So let's kick you off. As I say, a lot of creative people will jump into making something straight away. And sometimes that can be a good thing. And sometimes it really is going to be a waste. And I say this with a heavy heart, a waste of your time, your effort, your energy, your resources, and your money, right? So that actively sort of works. The contact is fine now, so that's good. So here's the thing. We thought we would actually help you tackle that question of, with the product or program that you've got in mind that you might have dropped in some musing in a field, which I'm sure that we are definitely aware of, you might actually just go straight into action. And we kind of want to hold you back from that a little bit, just to put some of the rational considerations in. Because here's the thing, from your knowledge, your experience and your expertise, you are going to start seeing things. You will be inspired by things, and you actively get an idea in your head and you go, yes, I'm going to go and make that. And sometimes that's a good idea. And sometimes it's actually better to test or go to market first before you make it. And so we're going to talk about the pros and the cons of each one of those, so that you don't blindly go and follow your impulse with tumbleweed as a result. And it's really disheartening to make something that people aren't then taking part of. And that's not because of the quality of it. It's simply because you've approached it in a way that doesn't work for the product, right?
And I think because you're all speakers, authors and coaches, you're going to be naturally drawn to create, right?
Yeah.
This is one of the things when we either, work with you as your business managers and stuff, it's actually saying no
for sure
to a lot of stuff, or not no forever, but just not now. Because what we can find is that so many people have got so many products created and never marketed. They've never seen the light of day. They're just sitting, books in their garage, stuff on their hard drive. And, there is there is the beauty of the creativity, because some people just go, I don't know what to create a product on.
Yeah.
And so what we want to do is actually see how both types.
You can harness that.
Yeah, and you can actually use bits from each.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is actually help you identify, first of all, which one you are.
Which one are you? You probably already know. If you already
some of
know
you already
that you're,
commented, right?
then put your hand up for either. But some of you will want to hear both options and then tell us. So we're going to talk through some pros and cons, aren't we?
Yeah, and so you can learn from what you need to be aware of, identify who you are, and also go, oh, I like that bit of what that I should be doing from the other person, right?
Because you might just be able to blend it, and we're big fans of blending.
Not smoothie blending, but blending. Okay, so let's look at the first option so you can see if this is you. This is what we class in our title is the people that make it before they market it, right?
Dang.
So this is how you can identify if this is you. Those people are people that are really able to spot opportunities that their clients want and need. They can actually, just really hone in on that straight away and go, I can solve that. I know what we need to do, blah, blah, blah. Here's a program or a product around that.
Yeah, they're highly responsive.
Yeah, and also it's not just responsive, it's being able to spot before the people even ask for it. So this is not doing research first. It can be, but you have this innate ability to tune in. We were just having a call before this, and the person's like, oh my God, that was the question I was just about to ask. So when you're getting that, you sort of intuitively know really well what your avatar wants, and then you know what you can create to provide them with a service. You'll probably guess from this one which one we are, but if you're this type of person, you normally will follow plans and strategies, right? Because what you're doing is you're working out, I'm going to make that product here because I'm going to have launched this and I've built a database of this size. So it's very strategic in thinking, when should I create the product? When do I have time to create, film, design, whatever it might be? Rather than that knee-jerk reaction of, I'm going to do this tomorrow, and you haven't thought about it strategically. So if you are creating products in a very organized way, then most of the time you're a person that makes it before you market it.
So I'm just going to throw this one in as well, because Wendy is definitely the
I can't see her comments
she's
too far
sitting
away.
in, that's fine. So she's sitting in this camp, but she's sitting in this camp because she doesn't like the marketing, so it's easier to
make.
Choice. And we absolutely know that there are those of you out there who absolutely are making, and then not marketing.
Yeah.
So
that's a different line.
You can learn from this as well.
And then the other thing is the fact that some people get really excited that they've learned something, they've raised their awareness of themselves, or they've developed a skill that they want to share.
For sure.
And what they do then is go, I need to share this with my audience, and they create something. But what they haven't done is then market actually whether those clients need it, whether it's something that you think that they want rather than actually what they're asking for with what they need.
Yeah.
So these people sometimes do still get drawn into, I assume, because I'm really excited about this, I'm going to create a product straight away, and then I'll find out if like Wendy never market it.
That's
or potentially you'll get to do that the second stage. So
it just makes life, it can make life more difficult for yourself in
both
this way.
of them have pros and cons,
but
right?
They both have pros and cons, right?
So the pros, if you are this type of inclined person, is that you will find it easy to create a ton of IP, intellectual property, a ton of innovative programs and products based on your own experience and knowledge, right? So you might be like Wendy with a treasure trove of products because you find it really easy to make them, spot those solutions, be able to disseminate your knowledge and wisdom into a product, and you're happy in that creation space.
For sure.
When you do actually launch them, Wendy, you are seen as being on trend, right? You're seen as meeting the responses of your audience, meeting their needs, okay? So you're actually saying, oh my God, these people will always, they know what I need and they provide me with what I need as well. So you're seen as on trend. And the thing, which is why we encourage a lot of people, even this isn't their natural way to be this, is that you actually plan and you have time to create, to test, to refine these products. It's not like oh my God, I said I needed to get out by next Tuesday and the links don't work and blah, blah, blah. It's
pressure.
Yeah, the pressure, right? So the pros are that you don't burn yourself out and you've actually got this as a strategic idea, and it's actually what your clients need.
And there's not a demand on the product for it to go ahead and do something for you financially, because you've been putting so much effort into making it that it's actually needing to provide you with sales straight away, right?
I love it. Julie wants some of Wendy's magic.
I know, I see that.
You're going to be jealous of it. Everyone has their pros and their cons. So the
For
cons of this is that when you market first, you make first, this actually gives you the permission to procrastinate. So I am a big sufferer of this, because actually if nobody knows you're about to launch or create a product, then who matters if it's a week later or 2 weeks later, because they didn't know that it was coming anyway. So it sort of gives you this get out clause that I don't have a deadline, I don't have this, other than holding yourself accountable, which is why coach and mentor is really important.
Exactly.
So it gives yourself that get out clause. The other thing is that what happens to people when they make the product first, especially if they've not done any research beforehand, is that doubt can creep in. And this might be why you don't market Wendy to a level, is that you think, who's going to buy that?
Yeah.
Who's interested? Like I think that's what they need, but I've not done any testing.
And then you talk yourself out of it.
And then what then happens is you get the perfection driver kicking, right? So it's like, oh yeah, but it's not quite the right, quite yellow yet. I need to change that, and it's
maybe
good
I'll
enough.
wait until I change my branding.
All these excuses and the perfections. Not saying you don't do it to a high quality standard, but there's always a standard where it's good enough,
for sure,
and we can keep on refining it.
For sure.
So if you do procrastinate, if you do wait, there is a chance that you will miss that opportunity, right? That trend that we were talking about, that need that your avatar's wanting. So therefore, you might be actually seen as actually not responding to your audience's need because you're not doing it quick enough. I can see some comments, but I can't read them.
So Wendy's saying, that's me too. Procrastination is my middle name. And Julie's going, oh my God. And then Wendy's
are you reading my mind?
Okay.
There you go. So this isn't in full, but we just first of all wanted to get in touch with what's your natural instinctive way. If we were going to say, this is about a new product range, what would you do first?
Sure.
Okay, what do you feel is you? And then we'll talk about the
We'll
other
flip
people,
side. We'll flip side it, in this way. So if you're a market it first, then make it person, you highly likely will recognize yourself as like, you love acting on impulse. You see something, you have an idea, and you go, I can make that. I can do it right here, right now. And you pretty much blindly set yourself up to do it without any more thinking about it, to be honest. You just go, yep, that's what's needed. Now, that internal knowing can be absolutely spot on, but we'll come to the pros and cons in a minute. The other thing is that you likely recognize that you have this drive to be first to market. It's this, yes, that's a brilliant idea. Nobody else is doing it. Let me get on that and get in there straight away. And then it could also be that maybe it's not that you have that certainty, but it's that whole, you're onto a good idea because you've worked with it with some clients. You may even have been testing it out, but it's about where it actually sits. Is it something that is common to your clients, or is it universal enough for it to have enough legs, for it to make enough money as a standalone product in your product range? Or is it just something that happens to help people at the stage that you might have got them to in your product range? Kelly and I we always talk about you having, I'm trying to do it this way, there we go. Like you having your product range. So, so some of these products that you might have ideas for here at the beginning phase, some of them might well come a little bit later. If you are working with clients at a one-to-one or a group level, the chances are that what you identify is for people who have already kind of been educated into your way of doing things. So it may actually be that whilst your set of people are doing it, maybe the rest of the world and the numbers that you might want this product to be sold to the demand might not be there, but because you see it working, you think that that's a good idea and you jump on it, right? And then, so the other thing here is that normally the people who market first, then make it, they kind of have an adrenaline fueled thing going on, right? They're like, go, 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 and they love a launch. Right, so it's the pressure build up of the launch. So so you want to drum up the interest so that you can then launch it out to the world. And for some of you, you need that pressure. Because as Kelly was just sort of saying, it's that you've promised it because you're a bit of a lazy creator, actually. So if you promise it and you've set a deadline, then you've marketed it, people have said yes, and now you have to go and make it, right?
I'm sure the authors in the book in our group can relate to this, that actually when a publisher gives you a deadline of when your book has to be written by, or at least the first draft, most authors write most of the book in that last few months or so, when they've had a year or whatever to write, because actually that pressure is what then makes them they don't have the option to procrastinate. They don't have the option to, this is the deadline. So if you're not giving yourself that pressure,
for sure,
you sort of give yourself the get out clause.
So if you've marketed it, aka you've promised it to the world publicly, there's all the attendant kind of the humiliation of not doing it and everything else that actually goes in there, which serves to get you to do it. So if you are someone who procrastinates, actually marketing it first may well be your way of getting the thing done, right? Especially, as Julie was saying here, so refined it becomes invisible. So if you are someone who is prone to doing that, maybe you do need to take a leaf out of the market it first, because then you have to get it out there.
Or Julie, we're just going to put you in our change, when you do your change maker on this week, and you set your intention and your goal, then we're just going to whip you into that, basically, so that we'll hold you accountable.
What she said, just what she said, because you got to run your business, right? So here's the thing, right? So if you are a market then make it person, the pros of that definitely are that you will spend a fraction of the time and a fraction of the money and a fraction of the resources to actively get that done. And that's brilliant, because you wouldn't waste all that time making something if actually landing for people. But when you market it, you find out that it's landing, and then you go, oh, there is appetite for it. Now I can spend the time wisely.
There's a client that I used to have, or Helena and I used to have, that shockingly, it worked beautifully, but it just gives me heart attacks thinking about how we used to work, right? But they would be in their paid program at the front of the room, and then they would decide that they spotted an opportunity to create a really high paid program and sell it whilst thinking about it. And we're at the back of the room going, what is this?
Yeah.
Oh my God, we're writing all the stuff down about what it's actually going to involve, so that we know we had to make it afterwards.
Yeah.
And those people were paying there and then for something that wasn't even created, right?
Now that's a little bit of stress and pressure. And if you are going to do it that way, for goodness sakes, record it, because otherwise you won't know what you actually, I got very good with the recorder once I realized that this was the style of the person, because we needed to fulfill all the promises, right? So marketing it first also helps you hone the promises.
But that whole thing about cutting costs and time, I mean, that's it, right? You had the people ready to go.
They're there. Here's the credit card.
Don't say start next week because we need to build it.
Exactly. So you get the idea, right? So now here's the thing. Marketing it also, if it falls on flat ears or if it falls just a little bit, you're getting feedback on the product before you even create it. Therefore, you can make it better. Now, for those of you who are intent on excellence and who are intent on actually making something good, this is a real bonus. And I really love this element of it, because if your first take falls on deaf ears, then you go, well, hang on a minute. So the idea that I saw, the impulse that I had, is still a good one. So I must have worded it wrongly.
Yeah.
And that points you in the right direction of some potential doing it the other way around and doing some market research, but we'll come on to that one. But the thing is that you actually get to launch your product in this way.
You don't just sit there, Wendy.
Exactly. It's like it actually goes out there and kind of does something. Judy's moving away from the whipping just for information, which is cool. So those are the pros, right? The cons around it, what might be going through your mind is that, but if I market it and it's not actually made, then people are going to steal my IP. They're going to steal my ideas because you haven't necessarily considered the T's and C's. You haven't patented your product or actually registered or trademarked what you've got. You haven't even necessarily created a strategy because you've just gone hell for leather, gone out there. And if it's something really amazing, then others might just take it. Right? They might just run with it. So your job is to keep on going with it in that way. But that can be a real con around it because somebody else might see it and do it better or have a bigger list and therefore go out with the same idea to that list. And from that reason, kind of end up owning it.
Sometimes being first to market isn't always the best.
For sure.
Right? It's the best because you basically get that initial boom.
Yeah.
But actually, when people go first to market and then people go, oh, I like that, but it didn't include this and this. And then the people that are like a little bit later that have made those adaptations and changes, I'm off screen, adaptations and changes. I'm going over here somewhere.
Seriously, this whole being together in a space is quite weird. I know, I feel like it should be.
But if they're normally the people that actually have more of a strategic, robust,
for sure.
Encompassing product because they've had time to do the legals, they've had time to listen to the feedback and improve it. Yeah. But that doesn't mean first to market is worse because you can always bring out new editions, right? But don't make it and then forget about it and then see the next one and then literally have all these products that don't link together in that product journey.
That's exactly it. Sort of like, so having unrelated things, like having a great idea is brilliant. Marketing that great idea when you haven't stopped to consider where it fits in your user journey or why it might be a bit confusing for your audience or crowd. It might be something that's needed, but maybe it's not something that's you make that's needed for people. Maybe it's an idea that you gift to someone else who has that crowd for whom your audience need to understand you are a steady person who helps them. We talk about bookending a lot. Your user journey starts here for your avatar and it ends here. And the stuff that goes before is somebody else's and the stuff that comes after is somebody else's. But
who become your partners.
Exactly. And the thing is if you develop something that sits over here or over here or over on this side, then actually it gets a bit confusing for your clients and your prospects because it's like, well, where are they now going? Are they still trustworthy? Can I trust them to be in that?
Or where, if you're getting the feedback from your clients is, you've got so many products, which ones do I start with?
Yeah.
Then you're not setting that out, right?
Correct.
They're just tactical steps and things that they can buy rather than actually going, do this first, then do this, then do this, and giving them some sort of like of a user journey.
Exactly. So it, on that longer term scale, actually, is this a valid product that will continue to be part of everything? Or is it something that is fly by night, it was a really good idea that might even sell the first time around, but does it fit and does it do you any favors is really what we're saying here. So that's one of the cons. And of course, the other thing here is that if you get a harebrained idea to actually do something, how are you going to squeeze it in with everything else? Are you going to put yourself under a lot of pressure to get it all done and or the people in your team who might feel the pressure of it? You might have, if you've got a larger team, but your expectation is that they will make it in 3 weeks flat and it will be out in the world. That can put a lot of pressure on and business as usual can be halted. And that creates that roller coaster. So on the back of that, whether you're watching this as a hashtag replay or not, like pop it in which one are you? Do you have a preference for I make it first, then market it, or I market it, then I make it? What's your preference?
Put in the comments, make or market, and then we'll get an idea of what speakers and authors and coaches are generally drawn to initially. So, so what most people, our advice is that blend, right? And they have their pros and their cons. When we say market, what we mean is not doing the market research. It's basically saying, I have a product. I'm going to talk to you about it first, and then I'm going to make it afterwards.
For sure.
That's that pressure selling and that sort of like, responding knee-jerk reaction side of things.
Yeah.
What we're saying is that everybody should do some form of market research before they actually make the product. Because this is where people go wrong. They're not listening to their avatar. You know, many people that make first don't do any marketing. Wendy's the prime example of this, right?
Sure.
So they don't do the market research, but then they don't market afterwards either.
Yeah.
So there is nothing really that you can sell without some form of marketing, whether it's referral or social media or email or whatever it might be. But we see this as such a common trend that you have treasure troves of products that have never left your laptop, right?
For sure.
And it's heartbreaking because there's either the confidence that you don't believe it's going to sell, the testing that you don't know whether it's the right thing, or actually the marketing plan of what am I going to do to actually market out there. And we've got a Facebook Live coming up in a couple of weeks about how to do marketing plans. So if that's you, then hold tight for that.
Yes, you'll like that.
What the interesting thing that we want to give you an insight for today is actually helping you to identify what you are and then prepare for those limiting things that each of those options have.
Or indeed be able to blend and borrow from each so that you get your, I'm a big fan of you creating your own rhythm, of you understanding how you do things best. And the thing is, you can take the best from both worlds, right?
And one of the things that helps when you listen,
oh, Wendy, don't stand in the corner with shame. No, that's not allowed, babe. You know that we're saying this so that you can learn from the other way of doing it, right?
And actually, I'm sure, Wendy, that a majority of people are feeling the same as you, that there are products there that they've forgotten about, and they are beautiful products. That it's just understanding how to get it out there. And that's why, especially in Changemaker Essential and the Connection Hub, the majority of our training is around marketing.
For sure.
Because most people just don't understand how to do it their way.
Exactly.
Right? And how it fits with their style, their time, their budget. And so, Wendy, just go back to any of our trainings on marketing, but we're not shaming. We're saying that actually you are the majority of people out there. Somebody else have a comment?
Yeah, so Francesca, interestingly enough, in my private life, I make it first, but at work, I'm in markets first because of the nature of the work. So you're having to do that kind of blend, which is interesting.
So one of the things to think about is actually whatever camp you're in, is the level of marketing will depend on the level of awareness that your avatar has around your product.
For sure.
And the readiness that they are to buy. Okay, so we just want to give you an example of this because this also might give you an indication of how much marketing is actually going to be required.
For sure.
Because sometimes people go, oh my God, we've had Gwen who joined our membership this week, right? And she opened her doors at 8:22 this morning.
Yeah.
8 o'clock this morning. And at 8:22 she sent us a message saying, I've had 22 members sign up. It's like one a minute and she's aiming for 100, right?
Yeah.
So if that's the type of thing where you're like, how do people just get these people really easily? Well, maybe it's the fact, if you're looking at the level of awareness of the product and their readiness to buy, sometimes people are just there. Their product and their offering and their avatar is just hungry. And some people, and you might be one of these, that actually you need a longer, this is really weird because I have to go the other way.
I know, right? It's freaking me out a bit.
The camera's
like, truly.
But you have to basically spend more time nurturing and educating your client around the problems and the needs and the options, so that then they're ready to buy. So don't always think it's your style of marketing or whatever. You might just have a longer lead gen time than others.
For sure.
But there's a book by Eugene Schwartz called Breakthrough Advertising.
Yeah.
Do not try and buy it.
It's an old book,
it's
so therefore
£400 on Amazon.
Yeah. However, there are enough people who've done enough kind of studying of it, etc. So I had the privilege of kind of having a read through a PDF version of it at some point. And the thing that really, really stuck with me, so the essence of the book is, and don't let this be enough for you, but the essence of the book is really about people's levels of awareness. So to give you an example, or to make it come alive a little bit more, if you can imagine, so it's really about when you bring it to market. So you know, the Britannica kind of encyclopedias, if you can imagine door-to-door salespeople kind of, well, I guess it was salesmen at the time, you know, in the 1940s and 50s, you know, knocking on the door going, hello, would you like knowledge, you know, in your house? And here it is, right at that very beginning with that first knock on the door when it was a completely new and novel thing. That was amazing. It was unique and it was convenient and it was right on the doorstep, and no marketing was really needed other than a knock on the door. It was like, hell yes, I'll have knowledge in my house and I'll want my children to actually read that, right? Totally pre-internet days, right? But if you think about that, not a lot of marketing was needed. That was here's the product, you want it. And because it was so novel and new, it actively got snapped up in effect. After a while, you know, they were first to market, but after a while, different versions of, you know, different people started publishing encyclopedias. And so, you know, there was competition, and there might have been a little bit of competition around, well, mine's better than yours. You know, sort of in
Mine's
this
got
way.
A gold crested leather band.
And there it is, right? So different versions, and indeed, you know, that competition meant that you might have to start to highlight not what the product was, but actually why your product was superior to somebody else's product.
So just take note for you.
Yeah.
In that, are you new and novel and unique?
Exactly.
If you are and it meets someone's needs, you probably don't have to do much marketing because the audience are hungry.
Correct.
If you've got a couple of competition people out there, then you need to be marketing by saying the comparison.
Level. Yeah.
Why we different. This is why we talk a lot about knowing your USP.
Yeah.
Knowing where you sit in your SWOT analysis. So
but it's actually more about why our product is different. So the focus is still on the product.
Yeah.
It's when we start to get to this third level of sophistication that it starts to get interesting. And, you know, we talk about you being at the heart of your business. So this is the time when, you know, when, let's say, the digital versions of the book started to come out. This is why we then start to go, well, now we need to educate you as to why you want the digital version rather than the physical version. So it's still about the features, but it's also beginning to become about, actually, so do you get that this is a new and novel piece, but about a known thing? So you're presenting it in a slightly different way. That's going to take a bit of marketing, but of course the bent of the marketing is still different.
Yeah. And many of you have done that in COVID because you've got the same product, but you've created a digital version of that product.
Yeah.
So therefore you're having to market the fact that, oh, now you used to be able to come to our retreats, but you can't do that. But actually, we found that a digital product means you can do it from home and it's less.
That's it.
Slash the prices. You can do it while you're in the bath or whatever it might be, right? So you have to market the new features and benefits.
Yes. And then you get to the stage where actually it could well be that it's saturated, and your idea that you've turned, you know, sort of turning it into a product is actually one that lots of your competitors are doing. So now this is where you start to bring the focus in on why you and your style and the style in which this program or product is delivered is actively the thing that comes in, because now your customer is looking for not the features of the product, not even the way in which it's delivered, but they're now looking for the sophistication of, I know what the product is supposed to do. I know how it's supposed to work. Now I want to know how it's delivered. So we're looking at the different stages that your customer or prospect is actively at for the way that you might need to market it. And that's going to have a massive difference. So, you know, the key thing that we're really saying here is that you haven't actually got any excuses for building in an element of testing where people are at, because those levels will help you understand how to do the marketing and the pre-marketing of that, because that allows you to get some of that feedback around where do I aim the marketing.
Yeah, and how in depth does it need to be? And that positioning piece for you, plus also knowing the level of awareness, plus the level of readiness, will give you an indication on how much marketing you need to do.
And if you're freaking out, take a breath, because I can imagine that some of you are going, hang on a minute, how do I know those things? You know those things because you start to pay attention to some of the things. So whether you are a make it before you market or a market before you make it, you need to do some pre-testing with anything that you have an idea on. You need to start to just take one moment to step back and go, what do I know? And one of the ways to do that is for at least to start eavesdropping on the conversation. What made you have the idea in the first place? Is it an idea that has legs? And you can start just reading the comments or reviews or interactions, or Google the thing and see what else is out there. Maybe it isn't a new and novel idea. Maybe the news dropped it into about 17 different people that you just never ever. Have you ever had an idea? That's amazing. And then you go and look it up and you go, how did other people know this before me? Like, how did that happen? I do not understand, right? So eavesdropping, reviews, social media, listening in is a really good way of doing it. Or indeed, start to reach out to people and actually do some informational interviews, like say, hey, the Connection Hub is brilliant for this. We have a post that you can do called a hashtag call out. And if you want people's opinions, if you want to get some information about it, you can actively ask people. And we highly recommend that, because that's going to begin to give you some of those nuances of just what's even the level of information about this product, right?
Another thing that we use, and also a lot of our members use in the Connection Hub, is simple polls, right?
Yes.
I mean, I even put one up yesterday just because I was interested in how people spend their bank holidays and how diverse it is with what people are doing. People do a diverse range of things, I saw.
Yeah.
But ask those 1 or 2 questions just to put the information out there and see the responses.
Mm-hmm.
Are you on track? Are you on trend? Are you meeting their needs? Or are you like, oh, that's not what I thought? And that's a great thing, right?
Yes.
It's beautiful to find out that what you thought you should create a product on was not the thing that they wanted, and to find that out before you film the course, spent all the money and blah, 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 right? That's when it becomes painful, which is when we normally come and rescue people at that side of things. You've also got something that we train people a lot in our membership site, Changemaker Central, which is actually running seed launches.
For sure.
Before you actually launch a product or even build a product. And these are great because it's a combination of some of the things that we've been speaking about, like market research and calls and interviews and things, but it's done in a very systemized way. And so I know many of you guys watching who are change makers will see that expert asset. But if you're not in change making, you can still get an element of it from it's a concept formed by Jeff Walker in his book called Launch. And I think
I'm going to pop the link in.
So so you can read about it in that book too. So there are a couple of things where all you're doing is actually trying to get the language, the emotion, the situation around the needs and wants of your customer,
for sure,
so that you are billing it at the right level. And we use this example a lot when we were doing our course on how to create online courses. There was a girl who was creating something which was talking about how to film, and all of her was like how to use your phone, etc., and how to do video live streaming. And the question that was most popular that she discovered from the seed launch was actually, when I'm doing this, where do I look? And she was like, you look at the camera, right? The little circle here, and that means you look in eye contact. And so things that she was going so technical, when this was so simple, she needed to go right back to basics to be what her avatar needed in that course, rather than what she assumed they wanted, because she hadn't done that, was doing that product research beforehand.
And the thing is that, she wouldn't necessarily have done that, because one of the things that we suggest in our course on how to make courses is that you run a seed launch, that you actively do some of this testing to find things out, which then means that you make the right product that actively has an audience and makes you money. It's a commercially based idea. Who knew? Who was thinking, right? So, you can have a look at some of the collections, so the digital course that we did, you can have a look at those. I've popped the link in for you so you can actively look at that. But it's little things like that that actively make your product a brilliant product. So we've talked about eavesdropping, we've talked about informational interviews, we've talked about polls, we've talked about this seed launch idea. You could also do some much more structured surveys and actively go out to a wider arena, 8 to 10 questions about the specific topic that you're talking about. Now, for those of you who are wanting to protect your IP, etc., you might actually not want to do this. You might want to find a different way of doing it. So that's why we're giving you a different range or a way of finding out what you could actually do. But you could also just start listening and then start to just seed in, drop in some of the things that you're thinking about and just see how it lands. Checking the engagement around, oh, that's a really good idea. Yeah. And if you hear that's a really good idea about 10 times with you having a focus of how can I help with this new information that I would like to put into a product, if you're getting that kind of confirmation, that's a really good start. One of the, so the VP of Creativity, I completely love this title, by the way, the VP of Creativity at Adobe, his name is Mark Randall. I'm a bit of a geek, so sorry, you're just going to have to put up with me kind of, you know, having done several bits of reading around stuff like this, because I find it fascinating, right? So he actively, not wearing his Adobe hat, when they have a new idea and they're taking it to market, what they'll do is they'll actually start to do ads to around about 100 to 200 people just to test. So they'll do Facebook ads, Google ads, just to test the temperature of, does this thing land? Are people engaging with the idea? Yeah. But they won't put Adobe branding on it. They won't put anything related to the actual company because they want to have it clean. They want to have clean information come back. And I think that's a really good thing, you know, around this. So obviously that is definitely a market before you make it type of deal. They're not promising a product. They are absolutely clear about it, and they just test the waters with it. So how could you put that strategy in place? That might be a really good way to do it as well.
I think Daniel Priestley's in the Connection Hub as well, and I don't know if any of you, Helena, I haven't given you this link, but if you could maybe put the link to his book Oversubscribed, who I love, and I actually listened to the audio version when I was on holiday. But
for sure,
one of the things that he talks about this market before you make it side of things is actually testing that water that Helena was saying and actually going, this is what we're thinking of doing. Type yes in the comments if you're interested or if you'd like to do this. And then actually what that does is people see the social proof of how many people said yes on a post that they'd be interested. Then he creates like a waiting list so people then subscribe, and then also does, well, there's only 30 places. We're going to launch in September.
For sure.
We had 700 people say yes. You were on that feed, so they can, and then that makes people say, God, there's 30 places, 700 people said yes, and they buy, right?
Exactly.
And they're on the waiting list. As soon as it goes live, it buys.
Yeah.
So it's a really, I love Oversubscribed as a book. Dan's a great guy too. So use that concept, read that book, but that's another way of actually creating the demand.
For sure.
But he wouldn't have said he's going to do the September thing unless he got those 700 people saying yes, because there wasn't a need there or a want there. So it's a really good launch strategy.
Yeah.
I know we've done Facebook Lives on how to run discovery calls before.
For sure.
So that's another way when you're doing your discovery calls, you can use that as part of a market research. Have them recorded so that you can listen back to the audio and take out their language, their scenarios, and start mapping it and recording it, going, you know, in the last 10 discovery calls you've done, 7 of them have said they've got this problem.
And hang on a minute. And then you create that landing page which goes out there. So whether you are a made it before you market it, or indeed if you are a market before you make it, you start to take that, you stick it on the landing page and you go, let's see what happens, right? So either way, you're either getting the sales or you're getting the information that this would be a really good idea, or not.
And then the last thing, which we tell you to do all the time anyway, is basically to create content and lead magnets.
Sure.
Because the content, if you're writing a blog post or doing a Facebook Live and you go, oh my God, I need more on this, or we want more subject, this is really what we need, then you're understanding that this is a demand, but also a lead magnet. You're putting out there the wording, you might be split testing that opt-in page, and you're seeing there what is actually the need and the language and the pain point that you should hone in on, and do that as market research. But when someone opts in for that lead magnet on that topic, they become the hot list then you can actually market and give exclusivity or first dibs away to when you actually launch that product. So all of these things build your confidence that you're creating something that somebody wants. You're building the demand, the database, the need, the people that you're going to maybe exclusively launch to. You're giving yourself the marketing language, copy, insights, pain points, aspirations to make sure that you're saying it how they want to say it and explaining it at their level of need and want.
Yeah.
And you're also doing this in a way that you're not creating loads of pressure.
For sure.
It fits in a product journey and a user journey, so it's strategic.
Yeah.
But then I would give yourself the kick up the back.
For sure.
And then say to people, have a coach that's holding you accountable, put it out there as a deadline. Say that commitment of how many people you actually want to have sign up publicly.
Yeah.
Have that adrenaline rush, have that deadline, have that thing, because you don't want to be able to give yourself that permission to hide, to procrastinate, to perfect.
Yeah.
Right? So this is the blend.
Because that too is going to waste your time, effort, energy, and money, I can tell you. So here's the thing, right? You know that your expertise, your experience, your knowledge is at the heart of your business. You are at the heart of your business. So let yourself have the excitement of the new product, the impulse that you've actively got, but do it in a way that you can actively start to think about more widely. Do I go to market straight away, or do I actively put this in so that I'm managing my time, energy, resources, money, and skills, right? Now, my first step for you always is going to be do a 4 intentions on it, because that's going to start you on the journey of thinking about this more rationally, which is going to take that heightened emotion of, what a brilliant idea from the muses, into, and have I got space and time for it? Do I want to make space and time for it? How could I find out whether this is a valuable thing for me to shuffle in? We certainly, when COVID hit, we needed to move. You know, we had an online course planned in Q4.
Now.
Yes, exactly. And actually we just brought it forward because it became, because of timing and possibility, well, necessity, became the thing that we actively wanted and needed to create for the demand that was present. So being fluid and flexible, being rational about it and emotional about it, can be the best of both worlds to help you make products in good timing that you can also market that make you money.
So I love the cat joins us just as we're talking about 4 intentions.
Yay! Yes, of course. She's becoming a mistress of them, I tell you. She's becoming really good at them.
Awesome. So whether you're watching this on the replay or not, then just keep on letting us know if you're a make it or market person first.
Yeah.
But take some of the suggested things of what we've done of how to actually do that, understand the level of awareness and level of readiness to understand how much marketing you're going to need to do.
And understand how you are with it so that you define the process for yourself around, when I want to take something to market, what's my process? Best of all worlds, right? Have a brilliant, productive week.
Yes. Have a good one.
We'll catch you soon.
Bye.
Bye.